Hello folks, Preview.com here, and our nipples is usually playtesting modern, not the very prettiest layouts or interface, but like this will do. The thing is that I don't have like the Abzan company in Moto on Magic Online, and I really wanted to playtest it, and I really wanted to playtest certain matchups and not whatever I get. Also on Magic Online it's really tough to play with Abzan company. The only deck that is more tough to pilot on Magic Online is the Lantern Control deck. It's all because of all those triggers, all those clicks, and pop-up windows and etc. I'm gonna have a preview card window here because unlike with Magic Online you can't really adjust the sizes of the fields. At least not in the actual game, but just the supporting ones, so that you know what's gonna happen. I've put it on. Mulligan down to 6 because my hand was way too slow. That's game 1 against Blue Moon. Against the friends. You may see me like clicking through some phases here for time concerns and to speed up the game. What you see here is like 3 lands, Milarafin, Hunter, and Kitchen Things. Not really exciting hand, not at all. On the play, maybe okay, Scry, and I see Cardi Calling on top of my deck. That's not gonna really cut it, that's really slow. I want something like a Galactic Company, I guess, some mana dork to speed up my plays. So his turn 1 is just Kraken, Mr. Rainforest for Shockland. No, on Island. Yeah, he doesn't really need that much a red or whatever. Blue Moon is just 2 colors, so he goes for Serum Visions here, turn 1. I was thinking about squeezing in onto the screen the chat window so that you can see the logs, but don't think that's gonna be great because then everything will be even tinier. I draw another land after the scry, so that's pretty poopy, I would say. Just gonna play this Godly Shrine tapped. My hand is not really that great, and Blue Moon is a tricky matchup. I did play test with paper cards against Jesky Control. That's a tape that you can also check from the channel. It was recorded and up like not so long ago. That matchup I liked way more. Maybe because the deck is more clunky and less smooth than the Blue Moon. Miller emits a Spell Snare. Kinda expected to see some removal or some counter. He cracks a second Rainforest, I suppose, for a shock here. My draw for return was just a bird, which was something I would have liked to see after I scried, and not this late. And now I'm screwed, sort of. Steam Vents and the Blood Moon. I know things are tough. You may think, yeah, like I got this forest, I got this bird, but like I'm playing against a control deck with a lot of burn. In addition to bolts and electrolytes, he even has burst lightning in the deck. I suppose this is the list of the moon that's finished up the 10th at the Pro Tour in in the hands of a New Zealander. So yeah, Burst Lightning takes off the birds. I don't have a forest to cast something like a Collected Company if I would ever freaking draw it. Instead, I just draw more lands. And yeah, I can't even use this Horizon Canopy to draw. Basically, this listed Cockatrice is the same thing I built in paper. Thanks as a fine card in this matchup. Okay, now I finally drew the company, but he missed a land drop. That means he has 5 spells in hand, so that's pretty good odds that he does have a counter for the company. So I go for Coco on his upkeep to try to make him tap out on his turn. He goes for a very typical mana leak. So that's a thing. And I draw even more lands, so can't be happier. Can't be happier. Just because I can and it doesn't matter a huge deal, but maybe provides me enough mana to cast something like a company despite mana leaks, so with 3 mana up, so might as well play this fetch here. And I do play like 2 forests in the deck, and a plains and a swamp, so there is that. He's tired of being mana screwed and not doing much, so he goes for Snapcaster, Flashback, and Serum Visions. There is that. Found the 4th land, that's a mountain. It's not gonna do a whole lot. I suppose he would much rather prefer to have like maybe Spell Snare or Spell Pierce. Drawing an Offensa, which I can't cast with the moon in play. And the Canopy doesn't do anything either. So it's Snapcaster beatdown times. I take 2. First blood for me in this game. Well, I do get to draw a Noble Heroic, but at this point, I don't think anything's gonna stick in play, even if it's gonna resolve. So he goes for end of turn snap, flashing back burst lightning for my noble, so that my screw up continues to happen. Yeah, my draws weren't spectacular at all in this game. The one basically made this game, that's for sure. But apart from the moon, I could have drawn way better hands. Spellscud is at least something I can cast and block a snap, for example. But it's not that amazing anyways. Besides, it just gets spell snared, so that snapcasters just continue to beat down. Yep, can sin in that game and go for sideboarding. It's pretty tricky here. decided to try out sync collectors in the sideboard, which definitely come in addition to voices. Then Scoundrelus comes in, Quasali goes in because it's not just Moon, it's Shackles and Better Skull. Brought in Pontiff because there might be a way to nuke like Snapcaster's clicks. Besides, he does play P and Kiran Nalar, so there is that. Bringing in DKs in the dark because he might not take up Blood Moons. And this is something I expect him to do. On the other hand, I would still have Pride Mage and just play around all that stuff. Taking out Gene Hunter, Archangel Feeder, 1 Seer, 1 Noble, 1 Chord because it's kinda slow. I still have 3 left. Taking out both walls, I think, no, just 1 wall. Basically, I'm cutting off a Noble, so 6 1-mana dorks. But wall is still a mana dork that helps with the Blood Moon, but the upside is that it doesn't die to Burst Lightning or Noble, and also it can block like Snapcasters and stuff. So that's why it's actually not that bad, but I don't wanna like draw both of them in a game, so that's why it's like this. So submit. Later on, I think after at least this game, if not one more post-cyber game, at the end of the tape, I think after some discussion with the friend over Skype during the match, you would see a proper sideboarding that I think like is better than what I did here. I think I scried this land on top. Again, my hand is not amazing. Couple lands here thanks Witness Chord. I kept it because I have by mana I have like ability to get some action down, and I don't go for some Black Shockland for to cast Seer here because then I'll lose the land that I stride on top. And turn 1 Seer against this deck is not amazing. Against some less reactive deck, I maybe would do that. But here, I don't think it's smart. Plus, I do want to be sure that I hit my 3rd land. Just in general, because of weakness and things, so... He just went for turn 1 Island and Visions. Now I get to blow up this fetch for a black source and cast Seer, which is really not that great in this matchup, but it helps me to clean the top decks in the face of Anger, for example. You probably noticed absence of Burden for Standard in the sideboard, and occasional matchups like this with Angers and Balls and so on could be a reason to actually keep a Burrington in the sideboard somehow. I hope you can apologize me not dropping the cursor from the capture screen. Luckily, I'm not having habits of flickering my cards like a maniac. So, on Skype, he congratulated me for hitting a bunch of basics. And basically trolled me a bit because he took out some moons. And now I don't have double green, for example. But later on he told me that he still kept two. So I suppose I would rather have it like this than being locked down with a moon. He goes for remand on the kitchen things. That's okay. As we later discussed, DKs were not really great in this matchup. Even the existence of the moon doesn't really justify it. Okay, I get to scry here because there is a bolt into my Viserys here. I see a bird, which is kind of tricky. Push it to the bottom, as it's much worse than just throwing a land here. And I do hit the land that I want. Overgrow Tomb. I can still cast the kitchen things, and because there is not much in my bin right now, so the plan is to go kitchen things and tapped Tomb and hope it resolves. It actually resolves, so tapped Tomb. Or Tom. I think it's Tomb. What else? He went for a fetch on the turn, I believe. Another fetch, so as his fourth land. So it's fair to expect something like Cryptic Command here. Yeah, 6 cards in hand. That is just insane. I drew Horizon Canopy. That's okay-ish. It's a cantrip, and I don't mind some extra mana right here. My graveyard, as I said, doesn't really have anything for a witness. Court for 2 is quite okay here, so I'm trying to check the grounds here with the kitchen things. He goes down to 14. So my plan is to court for a 2-drop in response to something. On my end step, he breaks the fetch, grabs an island, and attempts an electrolyze onto my kitchen things, which is interesting. Because things will rebound here, I'm not so eager to just chord out Spellskite here. Though there's a chance that's what I should have done, but I want kind of more value. So I'm fine with him drawing a card. Like, Spellskite wouldn't fizzle his Electrolyze anyway. Something like Viserys would. But that would be not an amazing way to use up chord. So I grab a voice here instead over a Spellskite. But the fact that he went for Electrolyze on my kitchen things should have warned me that something fishy is gonna happen. But what ended up happening was not that insane. So Burst Lightning to deal 2 to the voice, making me go through the troubles of making a appropriate token. Spoiler alert, I'm not gonna get it right the first time in this match, but next time it would look pretty neat. But this time around, well, I thought I clicked on something that that should have been probably okay. So because I didn't hit the right color, I get the devastating summons tokens instead of the proper one, but it doesn't really matter because okay, Waste's gonna die. Then I'm left with a 2/2 elemental and 2/1 kitchen things. So yeah, I suppose I maybe should have gone for a Spellskite. On the other hand, I'm sort of sure this wouldn't have worked out good for me still, because he could have just cast Burst Lightning Kick to kill Spellskite, so not amazing. On the other hand, he will tap out. So really odd situation here. Yeah, I'm trying here to think how to change this weird looking token for something more intuitive. He passed the turn. So with 5 cards in hand, I suppose nothing great's gonna happen here. Drew a Gavany Township, not that bad, but nothing that amazing either. Then I make a somewhat mistake, which we discuss very quickly and realize that this is definitely a bad thing to do. Maybe I'm just a bit demoralized already in this matchup, so that I misplay like this. So what I'm supposed to do is to just go to attacks. If something happens, respond by using Township to reset things and grow the elemental. So go for attacks, but just with the elemental, because if he casts something like a Snapcaster here targeting Burst and declares it as a blocker for kitchen things, etc., then I'm kinda screwed. So I should rather just attack with the elemental. Be more a bit conservative, but be less greedy as well. I have the option here to decay his Snapcaster, but that's just bad. He goes for Snap. Declares it as a blocker for elemental. I let this happen. They trade. Of course, with Snap, he say targeted Burst. Still flashbacks it because might as well. Well, not Burst, Bolt, but same thing. I think he should have actually flashback Burst here. Because flashback and bolts equals to more damage and being able to kill bigger creatures, etc. So in response to bolts, I reset things. It bounces back again, gains me to life. So it's a 2-1 right now. But he still has a lot of gas. And now reverse lightning from hand onto the things, so that I don't get to sit on Township next turn again. Drawing Pontiff, not amazing. Way too way too reactive. Tap properly, cast Witness. I don't know what I'm gonna get back if this thing resolves, but it doesn't seem like it's bound to. Cryptic, draw. Takes the turn back. Bunch of lands, a few cards in hand. Now it's time for him to start actually doing stuff. And that's the Chandra's parents with some friends. Not amazing. So once I saw that, my plan for next turn was to attempt to resolve Pontiff, put the trigger onto the stack, then kill it with my own kill Pontiff with my own decay, target one of the top tier tokens, and then first trigger happens, -1, then the haunted token dies, so the entire squad dies so that he doesn't get to shoot anything or keep the Pian Kirin in play. Nice plan, but very risky. Very risky. So I go to draw end of turn because I have 5 mana to execute my plan. Which I think was way too risky. It was such a gamble. So I draw Chord for my turn for Canopy. Before that I drew Sync Collector. And that's what I think I should have gone for here. So Sync Collector and try to see if the coast is clear so that I can actually resolve Pontiff. But I think if it doesn't resolve, then I'm kinda screwed anyway in this game. And he fetches up, goes for Mana Leak on the Pontiff, for which I can't pay because I ate Canopy. So really not amazing plays from me here. Probably should have kept Canopy. Okay, I drew like Chord this turn. But then this Pontiff would have resolved, probably, and then I would wipe the board, so yeah. Went really greedy, got punished, what can I say? I suppose if I just kept the Canopy, Pontiff, he can't counter it, decay, clean the board, it would feel great, but, bear with me. There is something I would get to know very soon on my next turn after I take 4 from his team down to 17 here, or 14. No, I wasn't. So I thought of going to 17, but I thought that like since Pontiff didn't resolve, so might as well save myself like some damage and decay a token that felt really terrible. Would have been way better used last turn if I would have been less greedy. Well, I learned my lesson, so that's why I actually playtest this matchup, because unlike different flavors of Jeskai or Grixis, this is something I haven't really played that often, and the amounts of cheap burn spells and Pian Kirin and Blood Moon and extra counter spells really changed the dynamic for me. because I'm used to play against decks that have less of all that cheap interaction and have more diverse cards, so that not always they can interact with me or have a cheap answer. Right, so I draw for the turn Catacombs, which is okay. Now I can play around the mana leak, but now it's not gonna help me a lot. But you'll get to see actually how, I would say, miserable my position was no matter what. So go for Sin Collector. It surprisingly resolves. Trigger goes onto the stack and he bolts it down, which should be a warning for me. And then he just shows me a second copy of Pia and Kieran and a Batter Skull, so nothing to take with the Sin Collector. Pretty awkward, pretty damn awkward. He's not gonna cast the PM Kieran just yet, but it's gonna deal me some damage and maybe nuke down a creature of mine or something. And then he plays a second copy and then I have to deal with that, so my situation is not really that amazing. So I just passed the turn, really down with my spirits and morals. So the situation looks pretty grim for me here. So after next attacks, Batter Skull comes down. Luckily I have this cord for Quasali Pride Mage here to deal with Batter Skull permanently, so that's not a threat. But I'm down to 13 and the combination of 2 copies of P and Kieran is really putting a lot of pressure on me. And it could be just too much to bear. This is the situation where I really miss cards like Revelark in the deck, at least in the sideboard. This is a kind of matchup where, I don't know, a copy of Evolutionary Leap could be handy as well. Just provide me more value and more gas. Zigardo obviously would be insane here. But those 5 drops really don't play out too well with company. Neither does Evil Leap. Liliana fares a little bit better in that regard, but it's just not an amazing card. It cannot bring one of the important cards like Complete says, like an Offenser or Melara. It cannot bring back legendaries. It's a really annoying clause. I guess otherwise the card will be really busted. So I'm just counting my mana, how to tap properly, etc. I think I just fetched up a basic to have triple green to cast a cord, eat it up, get rid of Batter Skull. So that happened, but he still has a second copy of Pure and Kieran. It's just so disgusting. I'm really glad that this deck is not really picking up that much. I mean, there were quite a few copies of it right before the Pro Tour, but lately I haven't seen that many. And this deck doesn't really fare all that well against Eldrazi's. So okay, I do have this collected company now that I just drew, which I don't know, maybe best to play on my upkeep. Well, I'm not I mean, not on my upkeep, on his upkeep. I don't know why I play it now. Might not be the best timing. Okay, I do hear a voice, but the second creature is not really exciting. It's Wall of Fruits. Okay, it can block P and Kieran, so that I don't have to trade my voice for that card. But then he has the second one in hand, so that's the problem. Oh, right, I suppose I did that on my turn, so that if I draw like a voice, then he can't really play stuff on my turn that well. But then, like, I don't know, man. Probably should have played it on his upkeep. So, end of my turn, he ate a top tier to knock away the voice. Just looking for appropriate tokens so that the math doesn't get messed up here. So voice is gone. Here he can just attack and not fear really anything. I mean, he's a 12. I don't really have that much pressure going on. So he's gonna attack. Definitely blocking with the Vol. If he finishes it off with a burn spell, that's okay. But it's not just a burn spell; it's anger. So he actually gets to clean the board here. This is actually well, bad for me, of course, but if I wouldn't have blocked, then it's not like amazing either. He would still get away the token, and then just next turn play P and Kieran again. Anyway, so it wouldn't be bunkers regardless. So I believe that's his ends. I decide to blow up a fetch to thin the deck a bit. Against his deck with a bunch of Snapcasters and burn spells, it's not amazing to sacrifice a fetch lands like this, but I really want to draw some action. I know that he has a second copy of Chandler Parents. So he just passed the turn, not really playing it just yet. And then I give him a good reason to do that by playing on Offensa here. I suppose what he was waiting for is to draw like one more land so that he could play it and then immediately shoot down one of my creatures. But here at my end goes for snap and just like anything for the Sun Offensa basically at this point. He gets a flashback whatever. He chooses something that actually nets him a card, like Electrolyze. Pretty good for him indeed. Snapcaster puts me down to 6. Then I believe he is tanking. He didn't play the second copy now here, which is kind of funny. Well, what can I say? I guess he didn't really have a good reason to do that. Suppose he had more interaction coming up. Kitchen Things puts me back to 8. He goes for Electrolyze on its end of turn. Another one, I suppose when he flashbacked the previous one he drew into this. So Thanks bounces back. I go back to 10. And then, surprise, is it Staticaster finishing off the bouncing kitchen things. I'm 1 mana off of activating Township here, so that's a bummer. Obviously not thinking about pathing my own guy here, but while he's basically tapped out, and path on PNM Kira next turn wouldn't be a big deal. So I'm choosing here between Staticaster and Snap to path, and I think my best chance is to get rid of the Staticaster, because then I can at least like play creatures more safely. On every hand, Snapcaster at least does damage, so there is that. So it's a close call, I would say, which one to have here. It really depends on my draws, but Staticaster could just keep my creatures in check here, together with P and Kiran. Hoping to draw some Galactic Companies here, of course, but I don't think it's gonna help that much. Fran, the last roll, has been in the past one of the key cards for this kind of matchup. But again, it doesn't pass the company check, so it's hard to justify it. If you want to play something like this in your sideboard, then I would much rather advise something like Zigarda or Revillaric for that matter. Eliana is not the best, it just dies to a bolt and that's it, so don't like that. Zigarda can really erase very well. Luckily, Snapcaster decks is not something I'm expecting in huge numbers at the events I'm playtesting this deck for. So I'm not overly concerned. Yet this is a really annoying matchup, I would say. We're gonna try once again, but change sideboarding a little bit, I think, because some things definitely don't really work out. Take out the paths because I just don't feel like they're doing much here. The Wells are fine, but it's not something I want to draw. At least Bird or Noble can attack, and it's a 1-drop. So I'm bringing back in Archangel plus Feeder. It's just more action, even though those cards are not at their best in this matchup, but other stuff I like even less. So that's the plan here. So I'm thinking about the 1 spare slot here. What to bring back? I figured that if I'm bringing back in the Archangel, then I might as well bring back the Feeder. Fin Hunter is not great here, Path's not great here. So yeah, I might as well pick up back the Feeder. But there are some cards that I ultimately should have switched here again. But I think for this game I'm just gonna submit like this. But this is still not ideal. You would see the last fixes, I think, at the end of the tape after this next game. You would see a better sideboarding plan. Although one of the points which I think is really arguable is about siding out the walls. They're also anger proof, so there is an argument for keeping some in. But at the same time, I just don't want to draw them. That's the problem. And I don't want to go below 6 1-mana dorks as well. On the other hand, this matchup is not really that fast, and he doesn't have a combo finish in it, unlike just Kaikiki Control. So I have time, of course. Tempo draws do help, but I think in this matchup, maybe keeping one noble and putting back one wall is probably the right thing to do. Sync collectors are obviously way better than Tidehollow Scholars in this deck, that's for sure. But Sync collectors might be even better for this kind of matchups than even Thoughtseize, because you get a body, it can be flipped off company and etc. And against these decks, you're mostly caring about counter spells and removal to get rid of. So this is what's happening. I believe that's turn 1 bird into turn 2 Sync collector. Pretty decent, but his hand is pretty damn good. He has a couple extra lands, couple spell snares, electrolysis, spell burst lightning. So it would be pretty damn hard for me to do anything meaningful this game, that's for sure. And I go for electrolyze here with Sync collector because it's a removal with a card draw, so he gets most value out of it, and he already has couple extra lands, so he can for sure cast it this game. Sulfur Falls and Shock on the Bird to try to slow me down. This County Township could potentially screw me off, but I do have another land that helps me cast an Offensa here. But I draw a Voice. On the other hand, I know about 2 copies of Spell Snare in his hand, so running out Voice here into Spell Snare seems kind of bad. And this decay doesn't feel great either. So instead of just waiting, I'm running the Sun Offense into Spell Snare here. Because of this township, I cannot just play this Shockland tapped and hope to draw another land to cast two drops in the same turn, because I won't be able to do that. Everything wants colored mana, and this County Township is really screwing up with me here. I'm still able to cast my spells, but not in a manner that would make it better, and drawing the second copy is really not helping that much here. This Sync collector does something here, but it's not gonna be for too long. With so many burn spells, the Sync collector is just gonna go away very soon. he can really afford to use his life total as a resource, because if he makes me run out of gas, he can always just land a better skull and go the distance. Or with P and Kieran, for example. Or just with Snapcasters. Flashback and some spell snares to keep me off everything. As you can see, something should be done for this matchup. Voices are definitely a good card for this type of blue decks, but it might not cut it, even with Sync Collectors and Voices. If you draw like I do in this game, and bear in mind that these are not particularly terrible draws, so this is just average draws, I would say, from the deck. I suppose the matchup is just this bad. I don't think running a Forged Tender in the sideboard is gonna help that much. Well, it would fizzle Anger and help a bit, but it's not an ultimate answer. So perhaps running something like a Zygarde is not too bad if you're expecting to play against some Snapcaster decks at your next modern event. Because like I don't want to block, so I might as well attack with the Sync Collector. I know that he has another Spell Snare here, and because the life totals are so close, before damage I just decide to activate Township here to pump my guy. What ends up happening is just that he's Burst Lightning it away, but it was worth a try. It's pretty sad that I'm forced to bring DKs. Use Decay on the Snapcaster next turn after going to 9 from the attacks. But, I brought them in on the off chance of like killing Moons and Shackles, for example. He's been later telling me that Pontiff is not really exciting either, but with situations like this, I think it's okay to bring it in. Feels like, cause why not? Like killing a couple of Snapcasters is decent value for the Pontiff, and also bumping your team sometimes for little attack is also not that bad. I don't know what should help in this matchup. Lose is not amazing either, even though you should bring it in because it's not that bad, but it's not amazing. So, cracking the fetch here for basic so that I can cast this Decay on one of the snaps to seize some bleeding. Still take 2 from another one, go down to 6. It's not great, it's not great. He still has 2 cards in hand. One of which I believe is still a Spell Snare. Okay, I drew like second Decay for a Snapcaster, but it's so bad value. It's a typical 1 for 1 against a 2 for 1. Really know what I'm looking for here. And I don't think running like a second copy of Scourginess in your 75 is gonna help this matchup all that much. It has to be something really ultimative. Something on the level of like Own Better Skull or something like that. Don't feel like Tron. Zygarde is okay, but there's gotta be something else. Okay, running more witnesses could be a thing, but they're so clunky sometimes. Have you ever like played an aggro matchup and drew just a pile of witnesses? Did that feel great? I mean, it can revive like some removals and for some chum blocks or to dig for a combo, but it's like so damn slow. Okay, Witness resolved to get back a voice to give me some chance of grinding out this game. And sometimes it will work. And sometimes it won't. Like here, they just go to exile because of anger. And then I'm screwed. If they would stick on board, it will be such a nightmare for him, I think. But unfortunately they didn't, so there is that. There is that. Unfortunately those cards didn't stick on board. Now I draw lands, just what naturally happens when you just get destroyed by anger with a voice. If you do have space in your build for Core Firewalker, of course that card does quite a bit in this sort of matchup. But be careful when attacking with it because it can run into a Flash Snapcaster. Because that's a thing. Both are not drawing that well here. But I believe he does have some action here. I drew Red Cap, which is quite okay in this matchup. But might be actually extra. It kills some clicks and some Snapcasters and P and Kieran, so it's not that bad. But if you go for infinite life, it's okay. It's not like playing against Twin, for example. So I show him a land in hand and the Red Cap, and he shows me a Bolt Snap Bolt with a Dispel backup, so not much I can do here. If it would be like Twin, then maybe Red Cap would be reasonable to keep in the deck because you would need a way to actually kill your opponent. But in this matchup, Infinite Life is enough. And the mana cost on that card is kind of awkward, and it's 4 mana. So I don't know, there's a chance that I could have kept it. The two remaining cards in his hand apparently were Mana Lake and Cryptic Command, so there is that. Just not much I could do. Not much I could do. But Sage unfortunately only works on instant or sorceries, and this is definitely not a deck for Caverns of Souls. You're supposed to be able to just grind them out with 2-for-1s, but apparently that just doesn't happen all that often. So we discuss better sideboarding plan. So Pev's definitely out. It's just bad value. It's simply just bad value. If I would have like a Shriekmaw, let's say, or something similar to that, then it would probably be quite okay. So, Fourth Company coming back up, most likely. Not sure about staying on 4 chords. Because unlike Company, it's just a 1-for-1. Even if you get Witness back, I don't think it's just worth it, but might be ultimately right. So walls are just not something I want to draw. So going back to more 1-mana dorks, most likely. Maybe bringing back 1 Melara just to have a chance to assemble a fast combo somehow. That's gonna be tough. It's definitely gonna be tough. He's been saying that Pontiff is not really exciting, but I don't know. I don't know. There are quite a few targets for it, but I suppose if I'm leaning towards those kind of reactive plans, I'd be still losing. So bring back some Ilaris, I think, and the Seer. No, first Seer should probably be a Force Sender, I think. But then that means I would have to stretch my sideboard yet again. So that's a prob. I don't know how I would do that. Maybe ultimately just not run Clear of Subdual, but it felt so good when I playtested against Eldrazi, just completely shutting them down. Even though they can break it with like dismembers and bombs, but it felt real good. So, not really that eager to cut it off the deck from the sideboard. Pontiff is just a card that like just has to stay in there, at least in the sideboard, because how good it is against Affinity and Infact and some other aggressive decks. It's actually not that bad against Merfolk's either, because you can clean up all the Master of the Waves mass sometimes. If not like the actual Master, then at least the tokens, and it actually matters quite a bit. And with a sack outlet in play, then you can clean up quite a bit of stuff if there are not that many lords around, etc. Then against some Eldrazi matchups, it's also actually kind of good, cleaning up all the science. So that's another upside on the card. Yeah, this is such a tough matchup. Like, obviously, there's gotta be like a Force Tender somewhere there in the mix, and perhaps something else to fight this kind of matchup. Maybe instead of a third voice, I should be playing something sweeter. Even though voice it's pretty good value for this matchup. Could be that instead of one of the voices, I just should put Forge Tender back into the deck. It could be. People argue that it's pretty damn sweet against a bunch of decks, still helping you out against Pyroclasm type of cards, even though return is not there, but it helps you against Affinity, against Gal Blast and Whip Flare. Still not a bad card against Burn. Them fine against Sudex as well. It's really hard to say. And there's a chance that stuff like Mind Sensor is not super needed, but it's way better against Scape Shift and a Tron Dex than Fulminator. It's just so cool, and it has its upside in the mirror match as well, fizzling fetches and chords. So I do really like it. Because despite Tron being not such a great deck choice right now, it's still gonna be played, and Scape Shift's gonna be played, but with caution. Maybe even with main deck Fire Sprouts or something like this. Or like main deck Anger of the Gods. And sideboard Damnation or Wrath of God off of Bring to Light. Oh yeah, like Avon also fizzles actual Bring to Light, not just Scape Shift, so there is that. I do like Scape Shift. It's not that well positioned, but it's such a flexible deck that people still gonna play it from time to time. So other than those considerations, I like what I'm doing here. I don't necessarily have to run Archangel plus Theater, but it just feels like good proactive type of cards for main deck instead of voice, which can be sometimes just vanilla bear and not really do much. So that's why it's in the sideboard, but it's such a powerful card I can't imagine cutting it entirely from the deck. Okay, so leave some feedback in the comments below. Let me know what you would do in my case. So don't forget to subscribe. Goodbye, folks.